Hey folks, Nick here from Another BookTube channel, and today I'll be reviewing Birdman by Hayder. This book kind of fell into my lap recently. I was at a secondhand bookshop and I spotted it on the shelf, and I recognized it not because of any verbal or written recommendation, but because of a visual one. You may know that I am BookTube friends with Ollie from Criminali, and if you look really close at the shelves behind him in all of his videos, you just might be able to make out a few books that say Hayder on the spines. So I saw this Hayder book and thought, hey, if it's good enough for Ollie's shelves, maybe I should check it out. And I really, really thought that this book was fantastic, even though it is probably the most disturbing book that I have personally ever read. Let's get into it. Birdman is a crime thriller novel following Detective Inspector Jack Caffrey as he investigates the murders of 5 women. The bodies are all horribly mutilated in a similar fashion, and because of a particular aspect of the body desecration, the detectives colloquially refer to the killer as Birdman. While Jack is investigating the case, he is consistently facing roadblocks in both his professional and personal life. There is a rather crappy detective also working on the case who steamrolls over people, and so basically just actively sabotages Jack's investigation from behind the scenes. At home, Jack is dating a pushy, manipulative woman that is essentially holding him hostage in the relationship. To top things off, Jack remains obsessed with the disappearance of his brother decades prior, a disappearance that he attributes to his neighbor but has never been able to prove. Up top, I'm going to give a few content warnings for this book that might immediately make you decide that it's not for you. I don't usually do this, but Birdman is particularly graphic in my opinion regarding these particular topics, and so I want to make sure that you are adequately aware of what you're getting into. Content warnings for Birdman include, but are not limited to, sexual violence, rape, amateur medical trauma, torture, and this next one can be considered a bit of a spoiler, so I pause here for dramatic effect and to give you a chance to skip ahead a little bit, necrophilia. It's also worth noting that all of the above only occur to women throughout the book. Now, with all that out of the way, this book is exceptional. First and foremost, this was a very satisfying thriller. Not really a mystery because we, the readers, get to know who the killer is sort of early on. So the thrills of the book come from watching Jack identify and interpret clues that other detectives are missing or misunderstanding. But I don't mean to imply that he's some Sherlock Holmes type who is all stodgy and stuck up and wowing everyone around him with his brilliance. Jack is a very messy character who also happens to be very good at his job. And even though we ultimately know who the bad guy is, the mystery of how Jack will catch him, or if he will at all, is enough to keep the thrills coming. Hayder is constantly throwing new, unpredictable twists into the story, and they all work completely. And most importantly, she puts all the clues in the text. So when Jack makes a deduction or a discovery, it's all set up and accounted for. There's no feeling of being cheated or any cop-outs. It's all there. It's all in here, and it's incredibly satisfying when those payoffs come. I also really appreciate that there is an attempted adherence to proper police procedure in Birdman. Jack isn't a rogue detective busting skulls and breaking legs to get answers. Even the ending, which puts Jack in a situation where an action hero would bust into the room, guns blazing to save the day, very deliberately mentions that, he just has to wait there and let the proper team do their job. I went through the content warnings already, but it bears repeating that this book features some really messed up violence. I'm not saying that this is a bad thing, just that it might not be your thing. It's honestly barely mine. I love horror, but I do find sexual assault to be difficult to read and watch, and there were a lot of scenes in Birdman that made me very uncomfortable. Birdman makes Silence of the Lambs look like Clue. At one point early on, I didn't realize that Mo Hayder was a woman, so I had that thought of like, is this an example of a male author kind of overdoing it a bit? And then I found out she was a woman, and I didn't really know what to make of it, except anybody can write anything, and as long as it's good, it's good. If you can stomach the gruesome bits, Birdman is a tightly plotted thriller that will keep you guessing and never feels cheap. There are apparently more books in the Jack Caffrey series, which I definitely want to check out now, but I might take a little bit of a break to let my stomach settle down a little. My arbitrary and subjective grade for Birdman by Mo Hayder is 9 out of 10. Do with that what you will. If you've read this book, let me know your thoughts about it in the comments. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today, but now it's time to get back to reading.